Yeah, you see what some crazy people do sometimes in their claims, man?
I noticed I did something really crazy, huh?
No, not you. I mean other people.
I haven't seen, well, I was looking at, I was looking at it, and I had switched it so many times, I went back to, the $80,000 a day. I figured that's absolutely, absurd and obscene, and it's just, it's way too much money when I look back, and are they really going to pay that?
Yeah, no, that's like I said, the $1 a second is for when something is called kidnapping or holding somebody in prison. That's what I base it on, something like that. You're holding somebody in prison.
Can I put that in my bill of particulars for the 12 hours I put in?
How much money you make an hour, that's basically what you want to be compensated. You can't say no.
Thank you. All right.
If the judge is going to, well, the jury's going to say this was outrageous. It's called like the tort of outrage. You could Google the tort of outrage. It's when it shocks the conscience of the community. And believe me, you getting arrested and pulled over for having pot in your car, it's not going to be considered outrageous behavior that the police arrested you.
No.
That's when you can make a claim for like a massive compensation. When you get claimed outrage. That's actually
what about the fact that he did not get a, he didn't follow his procedure? Okay. What I'm saying is the last case for outrage that I heard of that kind of went somewhere was that there was two cases. We both dealt with funeral homes. One, there was a funeral home. People took the dead people's bodies, and they were making, they made like a slideshow presentation, and then somebody realized that was one of their relatives, so then they did say, hey, that's like my uncle, that's my brother, what's he doing up here? What's he on? That was one of them, and then the other one was, the funeral home was telling people down in Georgia, in Carrollton, Georgia, right out there by you, man. Come back a little bit from Carrollton, a little bit towards Atlanta. Are you talking about they were throwing them out on the concrete?
No. This guy was taking them out and just burying them in the backyard like in a swamp.
Oh, there was a guy there was one of those in North Georgia. They took them out and they put the bodies outside. They were throwing them in the backyard, and they had what used to be an old driveway back there, and I guess they just laid them on the concrete, and they ended up looking like frogs on the road.
Yeah, no, that's what's funny. Is that's the only two torts of outrage that I remember reading about lately. Was
this isn't even close to that.
Right, he was giving the what was funny is how the one guy got caught. It was funny as hell. How the one black guy got caught in Georgia from doing that was that he was just taking up people's bodies, and it was like this marshland swamp next to the funeral home, and what he was doing was just taking a backhoe and just burying them in the swamp, which is real easy to dig in. So he was just, making some quick bucks, just dumping them in the mud, basically. So what he was doing was, and this ain't no shit, somebody, he gave an urn full of ashes to, it had like a bone in it. So what happened was, is the person who had the urn, obviously they opened up the urn and dumped the ashes out, whatever, and a chicken bone popped out.
Oh no!
So they had the bone analyzed, and they found it was a chicken bone. That's when it all fucking came to an end for that guy. He was actually grabbing ashes out of his barbecue. That's giving people barbecue ashes, man.
He doesn't give a shit.
Oh, he's in jail for a really long time. I'm trying to remember where that was. It was just outside of Carrollton. I'm trying to remember that little town. Carrollton is south of I-20. He was just north of I-20. And but that part of Georgia, the western part of Georgia out there, it was hysterical, man. Chicken bone. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. But yeah, like I said, man, I wasn't. That's why I didn't say your name. But yeah, you guys got to use a little bit of common sense. You know, you got to put on your old Lentz sense thinking cap there, and just say, what would you do? Let's be reasonable about this. Like I said, when you see me put $1 for every second, it's because that resulted in a kidnapping. I mean, when kidnapping was considered a capital crime. I mean, you kidnapped somebody's kid, that was a death penalty. You know what I'm saying? That was a major crime, kidnapping.
Somebody said Noble. Somebody on the chat put Noble, Georgia.
Oh, is that where it was? That's funny.
I don't know. They just typed the name in, so I'm just reading it.
Somebody. So like I said, that's the tort of outrage. The people came and made a claim against a funeral home and a funeral director because that shocks the consciousness of the community. That's outrageous.
It was in Noble, and they put a gag order. No comment on the search.
Okay. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that's outrageous. So when something happens to you that's outrageous, then maybe think about $1 a minute or $1 a second. But not just because some cop stopped you, he didn't get the search warrant and took the pot out of your car. You know what? Because that happens every day. In this country, that's not outrageous. That's basically what's to be expected.